It's Emma's first day at her new job. She moved to San Francisco to start at this new tech company, and everything is new to her. As soon as she arrived, an intern led her to the boss's office for a briefing.
Hello.
Take a look at the picture. Can you tell who Emma's boss is? I know he looks pretty young, but it's the guy on the left. His blazer is on the boss's chair. After her briefing, Emma was sent down to the IT lab to set up her corporate account. A guy named Lanny was going to help her with everything, but he said Emma needed to answer a few of his riddles correctly first. Since she had no option, she went all in. For his first riddle, Lanny asked her why the IT department recently hired a spider. Can you help Emma out? Because it was a great web designer. Duh! For his next riddle, he asked Emma why an invisible man turned down a job offer at their company. What would you say is the answer here? Because he simply couldn't see himself doing it. On Emma's second day of work, her boss texted her saying to look for a woman named Helen. Since he was super busy, Helen was supposed to give Emma the details of her next assignment. The thing is, Emma had no idea who Helen was. Take a look at the office. Can you help Emma find Helen? Look at that woman right there. She's got a necklace with the initial H on it. And plus, her badge says Helen. It's safe to say that's her right there. Emma's been working a lot trying to catch up with everything, so she's almost forgotten to grab lunch. By the time she went down to the cafeteria, there weren't many options left. Take a look at the picture. What's Emma's safest choice? Let's see. That burger looks nice, but there's a lipstick stain on the bun, so that's a no. The apple pie is steaming, but it looks like it's been microwaved dozens of times, and it's about to go bad.
Oh.
Her safest choice is probably the frozen pizza.
Okay.
They defrost it on the spot. Hey, at least like this, she won't get food poisoning.
Oh.
At the end of the first week, Emma was helping her boss with an important project. It was late at night, and all of a sudden, the lights went out.
Oh my God.
The power was cut from the entire building for a few minutes, until it came back on. The boss immediately thought about the classified documents he kept in an electric safe, down in the basement.
Oh, no.
Emma tagged along with him to check out the safe, but when they got there, they saw the safe was empty.
Oh my God.
Someone had caused a power shortage and stolen the documents. As soon as the police arrived, they started to conduct an investigation. Lanny, the IT guy, said he got stuck inside his office when the power went out because he couldn't open the electric door. Helen, the floor supervisor, said she had taken the opportunity to take a nap since she couldn't go home. Brian, one of the new consultants, said he had gone to the kitchen to make some tea and wait until the power came back on. Can you tell who's lying? Brian is the liar. He couldn't make tea without any electricity, since there was no stove in the kitchen and the kettle wouldn't work.
Oh boy.
On a rainy morning, Emma pressed the snooze button on her phone too many times and left the house pretty late for work. She needed to find a quicker path to work. She put her office's address on Google Maps and it showed her 3 options. Each path had a different obstacle that would take her some time to get across. For example, while going around a tree takes 3 seconds, going around a bush takes 2 seconds. And if she crosses a stop sign, she has to stop for 1 second. Take a look at the image. Can you help Emma choose the fastest track? The fastest track is the one on the right. That's the track with the least obstacles. It's lunchtime and Emma goes to the fridge to grab the sandwich she brought from home. But when she opens the fridge, she notices that her food is missing. Someone probably ate her burrito. She decides to conduct a quick investigation to see who stole her lunch. Her boss ordered some expensive takeout from a new restaurant in town. Joe, her colleague, is highly allergic to gluten, so he ate something he brought from home as well. Helen, the supervisor, ate a delicious salad bowl from the cafeteria. Take a look at the picture. Can you guess who stole Emma's lunch? It was Joe. His hands are all swollen. He probably ate the burrito even though he's allergic to gluten. Yikes! Since she moved to San Francisco, Emma has been living with 2 other girls in a tiny apartment. She's got the feeling that one of the girls doesn't really like her. One day when she got home from work, there were 3 apples on her desk and a small note. The note said the apples were a housewarming gift, but it didn't say from whom. Take a look at the picture. Are any of these apples safe to eat? The one that has the little worm in it is the safest one. Who knows, maybe the other ones are poisoned, or worse. Emma's boss asked her to pick up his car from the car shop and drive it to their office. She wanted to impress him, so she said yes. She picked up the car and drove it through the steep hills of San Francisco before arriving at the office building. Once she got there, she saw the reception was on fire. Right next to the double glass doors, there was a fire hydrant she could use to fight the fire. Which door should Emma open first? The car door. Duh! Today, Emma's task at work was to help Helen, her supervisor, hire a new social media manager. Together, they analyzed 3 different resumes. The first one was from a woman named Angela. She is 23 years old and doesn't have a lot of company experience, but she's eager to learn. Thomas is 28 years old and has 7 years of work experience. He says he's been working for Google since the company was founded. And then there's Bianca, who's 20 years old and has been making viral TikTok stories for over 2 years. Who should they hire? They should probably hire Angela. Thomas lied in his resume because Google was founded in 1998, and Bianca can't be an expert at making TikTok stories since TikTok doesn't have this option to begin with. Helen asked Emma to run an important errand for her. Her only request was for Emma to be fast. The thing is, Emma needed to cross town to get to the place Helen asked her to go. So, she decided to cross the big park that connected the town. Somewhere along the way, Emma got lost and found herself at the intersection of 3 pathways. At the entrance of the first pathway, there was a huge pond. At the entrance of the second path, there was a pile of really toxic waste. And blocking the entrance of the last pond, there was a hungry-looking bear. Which path should Emma choose? She should go for the first one. Sure, she'll be a bit wet, but at least she won't be eaten by a bear. At the entrance of Emma's new apartment, someone installed a coded machine to open the door, but didn't give any hints. The buttons are shaped like animals. There's a butterfly, a tiger, a bear, and a dolphin. Do you have any idea which button Emma should press? She should press the bear. Look inside the building through the glass doors. The emblem of the building is a bear. Take a look at this image for a second. Which prisoner do you think is rich? Let's see, it can't be the first guy since his food is partially rotten. It looks like the other inmates don't really like him, and he doesn't have a lot of power inside the prison. The second guy, while he looks super wealthy, his jewelry is actually fake. This leaves us with the last guy, and bingo, it's him! Look, he's got a laptop under his plate and a phone under his arm. He's the richest for sure. Susie was invited to take part in a pop-up riddle show. She needed to answer one question correctly to win $1,000. She was extremely nervous when the game show host asked her this question. How many numbers are on a clock? Can you help Susie figure out this one? The answer looks obvious, but it's not. You need to do some math. The correct answer is 15. It doesn't work if you simply stare at the clock and say there are 12 numbers. You see, the numbers 10, 11, and 12 are made up of smaller numerical numbers, so the correct way to count it would be in a clockwise fashion. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 0, 1, and 1. Phew! A local thief was running around playing tricks on some neighborhood stores. On a Saturday morning, he walked inside Mrs. Buchanan's shop and stole a $100 bill from the counter when she wasn't looking. He grabbed a shopping cart and filled it with $70 worth of goods. He paid for everything with the $100 bill he had stolen and even got $30 back as change. How much money did the store owner lose in all of this? The shop owner just lost $100. I know it sounds too simple, but here's the deal. In total, the store owner lost $70 worth of merchandise, plus the $30 she gave as change. So yes, she lost $100. Maya was roaming through the multiverses when she ran into a gatekeeper guarding a green door. She said she needed to go through the door in order to access her original timeline, but the gatekeeper would only let through those who answered his riddle. He told her that some things can go through the green door while others cannot, and she needed to figure out what all of the things had in common. And then he tells her, you can come through the door with a carton of eggs, but not with a box of donuts. You can pass through it with a gallon of skim milk, but not a quart of it. You can bring with you some bamboo, but not jade, orchids, philodendron, or ivy. Sadly, you can't come through with dogs and cats unless they're still puppies and kittens. Can you help Maya figure out the pattern in common with all of these things? Well, the key to solving this riddle can be found in all 4 of the words that make up the phrase green glass door, aka double letters. If something is spelled with double letters, it can go through the green glass door. If there are no double letters in its name, then it can't. Mark went to the farmer's market to do his weekly grocery shopping. He stopped by the egg stand, and the owner was feeling chatty, so he challenged Mark to guess the answer to a riddle. He told Mark, if I had 4 eggs and a thief gave me 3, and my rooster laid 5 more, how many eggs do I have? Can you help Mark figure out the answer here? I'll get one thing out of the way. It's not a simple math problem. It doesn't work if you just add everything up. But here's the first problem. Roosters don't lay eggs, so those eggs are out of the equation. And then if you read correctly, the man said, if I had 4 eggs, which means that he had 0 eggs to begin with. So the correct answer is 3. The 3 eggs that the thief gave him. 4 prisoners from a high-security prison were taken to a deserted beach to do some community service. The warden wanted to have some fun, so he lined them up in a single-file line and separated prisoner A from the other 3 with the help of a brick wall. He gave each prisoner a hat, either black or white, without telling them which color they each got. In total, there were 2 black hats and 2 white hats. He told them that all prisoners would be sentenced to prison for life, except they could guess correctly which color of hat they had in under 10 minutes. The prisoners weren't allowed to confer with each other, and they weren't allowed to move around or change positions. They got super nervous, of course, but they had no other option than to play the game. Luckily, just before the clock struck 10 minutes, one of the prisoners guessed correctly their hat color. Can you guess which prisoner it was? P.S. There is only one correct answer. If you guessed prisoner C, then you got it right. Let's see why. This riddle can only be solved through a process of elimination, and 2 of the prisoners, prisoners A and B, can be eliminated right off the bat. That's because neither one of them can see any of the other prisoners, so neither possesses any information with which to make a more certain guess. That just leaves us prisoners C and D. When prisoner D remains silent and doesn't take a guess, prisoner C deduces his own hair color. He deduces that he and prisoner B must be wearing different colored hats. And since prisoner B was wearing a white hat, he guessed he is wearing a black hat. Yikes! This fried my hat off. Betty was in her last year of high school and she decided to take photography as an extracurricular activity. For her latest assignment, she needed to take an urban picture and present it to the class. However, since Betty was also organizing a big graduation trip, she didn't have time to do the assignment. Instead, she decided to Photoshop an image and show it in class. The teacher and students immediately saw that the picture wasn't real. How could they tell? Well, because that person over there has 2 heads. It looks pretty cool, but that's kind of a difficult phenomenon to find here on this planet. Three people decided to spend their vacations in Antarctica. Bianca had some trouble with the harsh weather, but felt it was worth it in the end. Pablo had a great time photographing the penguins for his social media page. And Helena got to do some fishing while she was there. On the last day of their trip, passing through airport security, one of them got caught trying to take a penguin with them in their backpack. Take a look at the picture. Can you tell who it was? Let's see what we have here. Well, is that a penguin's feet poking out of Helena's backpack? It sure is. Guess she did more than just fishing during her vacation. Yikes! December 5th is Bloomfield Town's Contest Day. For this year, the mayor picked bakery as the theme, so contestants needed to bake the best dessert to win. The only rule was that the bakers couldn't use sugar in their recipes, only natural sweeteners. When the mayor went to judge the 4 finalists and pick the best dessert, he immediately disqualified one of the bakers, saying they had cheated. And he did that without even tasting the desserts. Take a look at the contestants and see if you can spot the cheater. Look at the third woman in the row. Her cake is literally covered in powdered sugar. She was disqualified because she broke the no sugar rule.
Well, have you been looking for a chance to put on your detective hat? Well, here you go. A new portion of tricky riddles to sharpen your mind.
Yeah.
Melissa met her guests who came to her birthday party. Catherine came before Bob, Aaron after Raynon. Bob arrived before Raynon, and Timothy came after Aaron. So, which guest arrived last? Timothy was the last one to come. Now let's say you have 2 jugs. One of them holds exactly 3 gallons of water and the other holds 5 gallons. With the help of just these 2 jugs and a fire hose, how can you measure out exactly 4 gallons of water? Fill the 5-gallon jug to the top. Then pour it into the 3-gallon jug until it's full. You now have 2 gallons of water remaining in the 5-gallon jug. Pour out the water from the 3-gallon jug and then pour the 2 gallons from the 5-gallon jug into the 3-gallon one. Finally, fill the 5-gallon jug to the top and pour it into the 3-gallon jug until it's full. There was only enough space left for 1 more gallon in the 3-gallon jug, so you now have exactly 4 gallons in the 5-gallon jug. Look at this image attentively and try to find a mistake. There's no river on the other side of the bridge. Where does it disappear? Now, look at these men very closely. Can you figure out which of them is a fake doctor? The doctor on the left may be wearing casual clothes, but he has his badge on, which probably means he was called to work urgently and didn't have time to change. He's also holding a stethoscope. The doctor in the middle is holding a spoon. But even though it looks suspicious, he has just given a child patient some cough syrup. You can also see a badge on his uniform. As for the man on the right, he's not a doctor. There's no badge on his uniform. And if you examine him more attentively, you'll notice the police uniform under his white coat. He's most likely a police officer undercover. Christy poured herself a full cup of tea and drank half of it. Then she filled the cup with milk. Then she drank half of the drink again. Then she refilled it with milk again and drank the rest of it. Can you figure out if Christy drank more tea or more milk? She drank the same amount of tea and milk. Look, Christy ended up drinking all her tea since the cup was eventually empty. Christy refilled the milk 2 times, and every time it was half a cup of milk, totally a full cup of milk. Deceptor, a famous magician, announced that he could throw a ping-pong ball in such a way that it would go a short distance, come to a complete stop, and go in the opposite direction. He also clarified that he wouldn't bounce the ball off of any object or tie anything to it. And indeed, he managed to perform the trick. How did he do it? He threw the ball straight up into the air. Can you name 4 days of the week that start with the letter T? These days are Tuesday, Thursday, today, and tomorrow. Now, listen up.
Yeah.
All statements are true except one. 3 days ago was not Friday. The day after tomorrow will be Saturday. Tomorrow is not Wednesday. In 5 days, it's a day off. Yesterday was not Saturday. So the question is, what day of the week is today? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Saturday? It's Thursday. Let's see how we can figure it out. 3 days ago was not Friday. If this statement is true, then today is not Monday. The day after tomorrow will be Saturday. If it's true, then today is Thursday. Tomorrow is not Wednesday. Then today is not Tuesday. It's a day off in 5 days. If this statement was true, today would be Monday or Tuesday. But in this case, the statement contradicts the first and third ones. It must be false. Yesterday was not Saturday. It means that today is not Sunday. Based on all this, we can conclude that today is Thursday. There were 2 plastic jugs filled with water. Can you put all the water into one barrel without using any dividers and still tell which water comes from which jug? You can do it by freezing the water in one or both jugs and then cutting the plastic away, leaving only the ice. After that, you can put the chunks of ice into the barrel. This way, you'll be able to tell which water comes from which jug. A farmer in Florida owns a beautiful pear tree. He supplies fruit to a nearby grocery store. One day, the store owner calls the farmer to check how much fruit is available for him to buy. The farmer knows that the main trunk has 24 branches. Each branch has 12 boughs, and each bough has 6 twigs. Since each twig bears one piece of fruit, how many plums will the farmer be able to sell? Unfortunately, none. At least not from this tree. A pear tree doesn't produce plums. You have 5 jars with pills. Each pill weighs 10 grams, except for contaminated pills contained in one jar. There, each pill weighs 9 grams. You have a scale, but can you tell which jar has the contaminated pills after making just one measurement? To find the contaminated pills, you should follow the following steps. Take out 1 pill from jar number 1, 2 pills from jar number 2, 3 pills from jar number 3, 4 pills from jar number 4, and 5 pills from jar number 5. Put all these 15 pills on the scale. The correct weight should be 150 grams. But since one of the jars has contaminated pills, the weight will definitely be less than 150 grams. If the weight is 149 grams, then jar number 1 has the contaminated pills, because there is only one pill like that. If the weight is 148 grams, then the contaminated pills are in jar number 2. If the weight is 147 grams, the contaminated pills are in jar number 3, and so on. Many years ago, one guy was captured by an evil witch who kept him in her house. There was a cellar door in the house, and the witch warned the guy not to open it because he was not ready to see what was behind it. Can you guess what was on the other side of the door that the witch didn't want the guy to see? The guy was actually locked in the cellar, and on the other side of the door was the rest of the house and the outside world. The witch just didn't want the guy to escape. One day, a boss told his employees, "I can fight and beat any man who works here." A new employee, a tall ex-prize fighter, decided to challenge the boss. Interestingly, the boss won the bet, even though he didn't defeat the man. What did the boss do? Not to lose face, he fired the new employee on the spot. This way, when he defeated the boss, he wasn't working in the company anymore. Marty and Jill wanted to copy 3 60-minute tapes. They have 2 tape recorders that will dub the tapes for them, so they can do 2 at a time. It takes 30 minutes for each side to complete. Therefore, in 1 hour, 2 tapes will be completed, and in another hour, the third will be done. Jill says all 3 tapes can be finished in 90 minutes. Can you figure out how it is possible? Let's call the tapes 1, 2, and 3 with sides A and B. In the first 30 minutes, the guys will work with 1A and 2A. In the second 30 minutes, they will record 1B and 3A. Now, tape 1 is completed. Finally, in the last half hour, they will do tape 2B and 3B.
You think you're a math genius? Well, here's your chance to prove that. For I have prepared the ultimate IQ test for you. Don't forget to keep track of your correct answers.
Yeah.
Take a look at the image. Can you tell me what's the number of the parking space covered by the car? Well, this math question actually requires no math whatsoever. If you flip the image upside down, you'll see that what you're dealing with is a simple number sequence. So, the correct answer is 87. I am an odd number. Take away 1 letter and I become even. What number am I? The answer is 7. Take away the S and it becomes even. There's a 3-digit number. The second digit is 4 times as big as the third digit, while the first digit is 3 less than the second digit. What is the number? The correct answer is 141. Sally is 54 years old and her mother is 80. Can you tell me how many years ago Sally's mother was 3 times Sally's age? It was 41 years ago when Sally was 13 and her mother was 39. I add 6 to 11 and get 5. Can you tell me how that's possible? Well, you'll need to use your critical thinking skills to solve this rather than your math knowledge and shift your perspective. When it is 11 a.m., adding 6 hours makes it 5 p.m. That's how the equation is possible. What is the smallest number that is increased by 12 when it's flipped and turned upside down? The answer is 86. When it's turned upside down and flipped, it becomes 98, which is 12 more than 86. My twin lives at the reverse of my house number. The difference between our house numbers ends in 2. What are the lowest possible numbers of our house numbers? I never said these math riddles were going to be easy to solve. Anyway, here's the answer to this one. The lowest possible numbers for the houses are 19 and 91. The difference is 72. A father is 4 times as old as his son. In 20 years, he will be twice as old. How old are they now? The father is 40 years old and the son is 10 years old. What three positive numbers give the same answer when multiplied and added together? The answer is 1, 2, and 3. You have a 3-gallon bottle and a 5-gallon bottle. How can you measure exactly 4 gallons of water? Fill the 3-gallon bottle and pour it into the 5-gallon bottle. Then fill the 3-gallon bottle again and carefully pour it into the 5-gallon bottle until the 5-gallon bottle is full. This will leave 1 gallon in the 3-gallon bottle. Empty the 5-gallon bottle and pour the 1 gallon from the 3-gallon bottle into it. Now, fill the 3-gallon bottle one more time and pour it into the 5-gallon bottle, giving you 4 gallons in the 5-gallon bottle. How can a chef use an 11-minute hourglass and a 7-minute hourglass to time vegetables that must be cooked for 15 minutes consequently? Turn over both hourglasses at the same time, but don't put any vegetables in just yet. When the 7-minute hourglass runs out, put in the vegetables immediately. There will be 4 minutes left on the 11-minute hourglass. When that runs out, just flip it back over for another 11 minutes. That gives you the 4 minutes plus the 11 minutes, which makes 15 minutes. A box contains 6 red balls, 4 green balls, and 2 blue balls. Without looking, what's the minimum number of balls you need to draw to ensure you have at least 2 balls of the same color? The answer is 4. Here's why. Because even if the worst-case scenario happens, which is you'll draw 1 ball of each color, the next ball you'll pick will match one of the colors drawn previously. What comes next in this sequence? You see, each number in this sequence is generated by taking a square of a natural number, aka 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then adding that natural number itself. For example, the first number in the sequence is the square of 1 plus 1. The second is the square of 2 plus 2, and so on. According to that formula, the next number in this sequence will be 30. You have a set of scales and 8 balls. One of the balls is slightly heavier than the rest, but you don't know which one. You can use the scales only twice. How can you find the heavier ball? As step 1, you need to pick 6 balls and weigh them 3 on each side of the scale. If the balls balance each other, then weigh the remaining 2 balls, and the heavier one will tilt the balance on its side. But if the balls do not balance each other, then the heavier ball should be one of the 3 balls on the side the balance tilts. From these 3 balls, discard one of them and choose the other 2 to weigh. If the 2 balls balance each other, then the heavier one is the discarded 3rd ball. If not, the heavier one will tilt the balance on its side. Take a look at this table. According to it, what will 7 plus 3 make? So in these equations, you first subtract the second number from the first number. Then, you put the 2 numbers together without any mathematical operation. For example, in 4 plus 2 equals 26, you subtract 2 from 4, which is 2, and then you add 4 and 2 together, which is 6, and this gives you 26. So, For 7 plus 3, you subtract 3 from 7, which is 4. And then you add 7 and 3 together, which results in 410. A grandmother, 2 mothers, and 2 daughters went to a baseball game together and bought 1 ticket each. How many tickets did they buy in total? They bought 3 tickets. The grandmother is also a mother, and the mother is also a daughter. What can you put between a 7 and an 8 so that the result is greater than a 7 but less than an 8? A decimal, because even 7.8 is greater than 7 but less than 8. If 7 people meet each other and each person shakes hands only once with each other, how many handshakes will there be in total? The first person shakes the hand of 6 others. The second person shakes the hand of 5 remaining people. The third person shakes the hand of 4 remaining people, and so on. So, you can reach the correct answer by adding 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1 together, which will give you 21 handshakes. Jessica works at SeaWorld. When she tries to put each fish in its own aquarium, she has 1 fish too many. But if she puts 2 fish per aquarium, she has 1 aquarium too many. How many fish and how many aquariums does Jessica have? She has 3 aquariums and 4 fish. David is the owner of a clothing store, and he has come up with his own method of pricing items. According to it, a vest costs $20, socks cost $25, a tie costs $15, and a blouse costs $30. Using the same method, how much would a pair of underwear cost? The pricing method consists of charging $5 for each letter required to spell the item. So, a pair of underwear will cost $45. Let's check your results. If you got 0 to 6 questions right, maybe math equations are not your strong suit, but your talents might be lying elsewhere. Just find what that is to shine your light on the world. If you got 7 to 11 questions right, it shows that you have potential, but maybe you were just out of your element today. I suggest you try again when you feel like you can concentrate more. If you got 12 to 16 questions right, the Genius Club has saved you a spot. Just practice more and you'll get there in no time. If you got 16 to 20 questions right, my friend, you bow to no one.
Elsa was 17 years old the day before yesterday. Next year, she'll turn 20.
Yay.
How come? It's possible if the present day is January 1st, while Elsa's birthday is on the 31st of December. The day before yesterday, on December 30, she was still 17 years old. Yesterday, on the 31st of December, she turned 18. Thus, this year, Elsa turns 19 and next year, 20. Elsa and her sister Helga explore an old attic in their parents' house. It's very dark and dirty. After that, they go downstairs to have some lunch. Helga's face is all covered with dust, while Elsa's face is super clean. But still, only Elsa goes to the bathroom to wash her face. Why? Elsa noticed that her sister's face was dirty, so she thought her face must be dirty too. As for Helga, she saw that Elsa's face was clean and assumed that her own face was clean too. After lunch, Elsa and Helga go for a walk across an enchanted forest. They reach the riverbank, but the bridge is closed for repairs. The sisters notice two dwarfs fishing in a boat near the bridge. They agree to help the sisters, but their boat is very tiny. It can fit either one sister or two dwarfs. Luckily, they manage to solve this issue. Elsa and Helga cross the river on the same boat. How? Well, first of all, one of the dwarfs brought his fellow on the opposite bank. Then he headed back for the sisters alone. Helga got into the boat and crossed the river. She gave the second dwarf the boat, and he returned to the opposite bank. He picked his fellow dwarf and brought him to Helga. Then one of the dwarfs swam to Elsa and passed the boat to her. She crossed the river and joined Helga, and finally, the second dwarf returned to his fellow. Helga and Elsa keep on walking and get lost in the forest. There are 3 roads to the nearest town. The first route is filled with mutant plants which feed on humans. The second path leads through an ice cave with a hungry dragon frozen inside a huge ice cube. The third route leads through a village of fairies. Their magic makes humans lose their minds. Which way is safe? Well, the dragon is trapped inside the ice cube, so it's not that dangerous. Finally, the sisters reach the town. They're walking down the main street. Suddenly, someone throws an orange right at Helga's head. Elsa identifies the apartment from which the fruit fell out and goes there to complain. She knocks, and a young man opens the door right away. Elsa explains that her sister was hit by an orange that fell from his window. But the guy says, "I was washing my dog when you knocked. Only me and my pet live here, so you confused the floors." But Elsa didn't believe him. Why? According to the man, he was bathing his only pet, but the dog's hair is dry. Therefore, his story is fake. Elsa and Helga enter the local home decor shop. Helga takes a picture of her sister standing in front of the mirror. Can you spot anything odd in this photo? Take a closer look at the mirror. Elsa's hands are reflected wrong, as well as the sale poster behind her. She must be a vampire. Just kidding. The sisters continue exploring the shop, but suddenly Elsa begins to scream and runs away. That's because one of these ladies is not alive. Can you guess who? The first woman is an ordinary human. There's a mirror behind her. The third lady has a painting of herself in the background. And the second lady, who's looking over her shoulder, is a phantom. Her reflection in the mirror doesn't match the reality. Elsa decides to hide in a building nearby. Surprise! It's a pet shop. Elsa wanders around it and spots one weird detail. Can you see it too? The turtle is wearing sunglasses. The locals tell Elsa and Helga about a creepy werewolf who has been scaring the citizens for several weeks. They only know that this werewolf is a lady, and she has a husband. He's the only person who can calm her down. Elsa finds 3 suspects who might be the werewolf's husband, but none of them admits it. Can you find him? He's the second guy. There are suspicious brownish hairs on his clothes, although his own hair is blonde. The next day, Helga has a birthday party. Elsa goes to the bakery to purchase a cake for her. She's late, so she rushes over and bumps into a waiter. Elsa hits her head and forgets what cake Helga asked her to buy. She remembers just 3 things. It shouldn't have any green elements, the cake frosting shouldn't include more than one color, and it must have at least 1 berry. Can you help Elsa find the correct cake? Elsa should take the fourth cake. It's a chocolate cheesecake, so it doesn't have anything green. The glazing is brown and is decorated with cherries. A perfect match. Elsa buys the cake and leaves. The bakery is located inside the highest tower in town. Elsa enters the elevator to go down, but she hits the wrong button and finds herself on the roof. She decides to take some pictures with the iconic huge clock installed at the top of this tower. Oops! Elsa drops her phone from the roof. She decides to leave, but someone has already locked the door, and the elevator won't work, so she's trapped on the roof. Luckily, Elsa can still change the time of the clock. What time should Elsa set on the clock to make someone notice and rescue her? If she sets 5:05 on the clock, it'll look like an SOS signal. Finally, Elsa escapes from the tower and heads to the parking lot. Here's her car. Can you figure out the number of the place where it's parked? '87. Elsa arrives home. Helga shows her vacation photos sent by her new boyfriend, Kyle. In this case, you can see Kyle, his friend Bob, and a humanoid robot, Neo. Neo is standing next to Bob. A person wearing the yellow mask is not a man. What color is Kyle's mask? According to the terms, only the third guy can be Kyle, so his mask is blue. The birthday party is going well. It's almost midnight, so Elsa goes to the kitchen and adds candles on the birthday cake. Suddenly, she remembers that the only lighter in the house is upstairs in her room. She leaves the cake at the table for a minute. Then Elsa returns and sees the cake smashed all over the floor.
Oh, no.
She questions 3 suspects. Lauren says, "I was in the living room all night. I don't know who did it." Wendy says, "I went outside to watch the full moon. It's so beautiful tonight." Kyle says, "I was shooting a TikTok dance with Helga." Who ruined the cake? Wendy. Take a look out the window. The moon is not full. Busted. The next morning, Helga wakes up earlier than Elsa and checks her feed. Breaking news: a legendary thief ran away from a nearby prison and now creeps around the town. He's a talented shapeshifter, so no one knows for sure what he might look like. Suddenly, Helga hears someone ringing on the door. She opens and faces 2 guys who introduce themselves. Bob is a gardener from a nearby park, and Peter is a garbage man. Both guys want to use a bathroom, so they ask Helga to let them in. But only one of them is safe to invite over. Can you guess who? Bob is wearing clothes with red stains, but he's also holding a brush, so he was probably just painting a fence. Let's take a closer look at Peter's facial hair. One mustache has come unglued. It's fake. So he must be the runaway criminal from the news. You just entered a riddle solving competition. The game show host shows you the first riddle you have to answer. Take a look at the image. Who do you think will be able to make it all the way across the line? Let's face it, it's the man on the left. Even though it looks like he's having a hard time carrying such heavy things, the weight is evenly distributed between his 2 hands, so he'll probably make it through without any problem. For your next challenge, the game show host shows you a picture of sinking boats. Which boat do you think will sink first? The first boat has 2 holes in it, but somehow it has way less water inside. The second boat only has one hole, but look at the amount of water that's gotten inside. It's definitely the second boat that's going to sink first. Since you passed the first 2 rounds, the third one gets a bit harder. Ken was riding on his rollerblades when he fell down and hurt his head. He woke up in the hospital, only to find that 3 Barbies were waiting for him. Take a look at the image. Can you figure out which Barbie is actually Ken's girlfriend? This is a tricky one. It can't be the third Barbie, because the real Barbie would never wink at Ken. It's usually him that does the flirty things. It's also not the second Barbie, because she would never put on makeup in front of him. So this leaves us with the first Barbie, who must be his girlfriend. The Finn is a famous hostel in Spain. It's especially famous for its fun showers. But hey, something doesn't look right in this image. Take a look and try to guess what it is. The woman on the right is squeezing a ketchup bottle instead of a shampoo bottle. That's definitely weird, huh? For the final rounds, the host picked out a few written riddles for you. The first one is, I speak without a mouth and hear without ears. Am I a microphone, a phone, or an echo? What would you say? The answer is echo, echo, echo. I'm not alive, but I can grow. I don't have lungs, but I need air. What am I? A tree, fire, or clouds? The correct answer is fire. Way to go if you chose that. Now, Carol was invited to a Halloween party in an abandoned house. Her friends asked if she was up for a challenge, and she said yes. Soon enough, she was locked inside a room. In this room, there was 1 door and 3 light switches next to it. Behind the door was an empty closet with nothing but a light bulb. Her task was to figure out which switch controls the light bulb inside the closet. She could flip the switches in whatever way she wanted, but once she opened the door, she couldn't touch the switches anymore. After some minutes of thinking, she was able to get it right. How did Carol do it? Okay, let's go step by step. She flipped switch number 1 and then waited a few minutes. She flipped it back to off and then immediately flipped switch number 2. Then she opened the door and checked the light. The bulb was off, so she discovered that it wasn't switch number 2 that controlled the light. So she decided to touch the bulb to test if it was hot or cold. If the bulb had been cold, that would have meant that switch number 3 controlled it. But the bulb was hot, so that meant that switch number 1 controlled 1. Way to go, Carol! To get back to the party, Carol had to solve another riddle. There were 2 hourglasses in front of her. One hourglass measures 7 minutes, and the other one measures 4 minutes. She needed to time 9 minutes using both hourglasses. How could she do it? First, she turned both hourglasses at the same time. By the time the 4-minute glass finished, there were still 3 minutes left on the other one. She flipped the 4-minute glass again. When the 7-minute glass was empty, there was 1 minute left on the other glass. And once the 4-minute glass emptied again, there was 1 minute's worth of sand at the bottom half of the 7-minute timer. She flipped it over again, so there was 1 minute worth of sand on the top of the glass. And when the 7-minute timer finally emptied again, 9 minutes elapsed in total. Anna sat down to watch her favorite TV show. She made some popcorn, turned on the TV, and nestled comfortably to binge-watch an entire season. Her cat Pepper sat down next to her, but after 5 minutes of screen time, Anna suddenly passed out. Look at the image. Can you guess what happened there? Anna's cat Pepper got scared with the loud thump that came from the TV. It jumped on top of Anna and it scared the life out of her. That's why she passed out. Take a look at this scene. Who do you think has the best chance at survival? The two guys look pretty stuck in there, but the woman on the right might have a chance. The rope looks a bit loose around her body. She could try to shake it off and then use her free hands to untie her ankles. Bella landed in New York with a very ambitious career goal. But first thing she needed to do after arriving in the city was to find her apartment. There were many options to get from the airport to her apartment, but Bella decided to save money and go by bus. She had to purchase a ticket for $10, but a handsome guy popped out of nowhere and offered her a better deal. He said his plans had changed and he didn't need his bus ticket anymore. He offered to sell it to her for $6. Bella agreed and gave him the money, but it turned out to be a big mistake. Why? Take a look at the current date on the screen of the vending machine. And now check the date on the ticket. The ticket the man sold Bella expired over a month ago. Finally, Bella managed to arrive in Manhattan and find her apartment. She was sharing a house with 3 other women. Bella introduced herself to them and went to settle in her room. She left her belongings on her bed and went to take a shower. When she stepped out of the shower, Bella noticed that her laptop was missing. She got furious and decided to interrogate all of her new roommates. Sarah said she had gone out to get a cup of coffee. She even told Bella to ask the doorman of their building since he had seen her leave. Kelly said that she had taken an afternoon nap with her headphones on. She said she hadn't heard or seen anything strange going on inside the apartment. Shannon said that she had gone to the building's rooftop to take some pictures of the city since she was a professional photographer. Can you tell who's lying here? It's Shannon.
Uh-oh.
If you notice the sign on the lobby, the building strictly prohibits people from accessing the rooftop. Alfred is a supermodel and he just landed his dream job. The biggest magazine in the country invited him to be on the cover of their latest issue. On the day of the photo shoot, he arrived early in the studio. After finishing with hair and makeup, he looked in the mirror and screamed, "Oh no!" His skin was all red. It looked like he was having some serious allergic rash. He called all the assistants he had seen earlier in the day to interrogate them. Amy, the photographer's assistant, said she had been told Alfred was allergic to peanuts, so she made sure to only buy safe snacks. Bo, the makeup artist, said he hadn't touched Alfred's food. He said that right after he finished doing his job, he left for a coffee break. Mary, the cleaning lady, said that she knew how sensitive models could be, so that's why she had only used organic and hypoallergenic products to clean his dressing room. Alfred immediately knew who had contributed to his rash. Can you figure it out too? It was definitely Bo. Sure, he didn't have access to Alfred's food, but he was the only one who touched Alfred's face that day. Liv was recording a dance routine for her social media page when a huge portal opened up and swallowed her whole. The next thing she knew, she was stuck inside a big cavern. Out of the blue, a great genie appeared. He told her that she would only be allowed to leave if she figured a way out by herself. As soon as he disappeared, she saw that there were 3 buttons on the wall. There was a red, a yellow, and a green button. On the floor, there was a note that read TDUPT, RNOR, EHEB, and SST. She clicked one of the buttons and managed to open a door on the wall. Can you guess which button she chose? The red button. She unscrambled the words on the note and discovered it read, "Press the red button." As soon as she pressed the button, Liv was transported into a virtual reality world. An artificial intelligence greeted her welcome and showed her 3 doors. The AI told her that only one door would lead to her freedom. It told her that behind the first door, there were hungry Pac-Men waiting for someone to walk inside. Behind the second door, there were cursed rollerblades. Once you put them on, you'd never be able to take them off. Plus, they had a will of their own and ended up taking you to some pretty dark places. Behind the last door, there were flying fuzzy creatures with laser eyes that would burn anything they came into contact with. Which door do you think Liv should use to escape? Well, she should pick the second door, because she wouldn't be obligated to put the pair of rollerblades on. She could walk past them and straight to her freedom. During the time she was gone, Liv noticed that someone had stolen her laptop. It had all her social media content on it. She figured it must have been one of her roommates, so she decided to take a look around the house and try to find it. Look at these images. The first room belongs to Jill, the second one belongs to Rachel, and the third one belongs to Amy. Can you figure out who stole Liv's laptop? If you look closely, Rachel's cat is sleeping on top of something that really looks like a laptop. It must have been her. Here we go! You just arrived home from a long day of work and tuned into the Riddle show on your TV. Take a look at this scene. Who do you think has the best chance at survival? The 2 guys look pretty stuck in there, but the woman on the right might have a chance. The rope looks a bit loose around her body. She could try to shake it off and then use her free hands to untie her ankles. Which one of these definitely isn't human? It's the guy on the left. If you look closely, you'll see that the skin around his eyes is green. Take a look at these 3 guys. Which one of them is going on a date tonight? It must be the guy in the middle. He's holding a chocolate box in the shape of a heart. It's wrapped with a bow and everything. Alice, Beth, Cece, and Diana are standing in line to get a new video game. Alice is standing between Beth and Cece. Cece is in front of 2 people, and Diana is standing in front of her. Can you say the exact order in which the girls are standing? Let's see, there are 4 of them. If Cece is standing in front of 2 people, and Diana is in front of her, then Diana is the first in line. Cece is the second one. Then Alice is standing between Beth and Cece. So the third person is Alice, and the last one is Beth. There are 10 students in the class. 6 of them learn French. Oui, oui. 7 of the students in the class learn Spanish. Olé! If every student learns at least one foreign language, how many students learn both French and Spanish? This is pretty simple math. 6 plus 7 equals 13. If there are only 10 students in the class, that means that 3 students are learning both French and Spanish. A police officer was following a robber around the city. Suddenly, the criminal rushed toward a hospital and disappeared. When the police officer entered the building, he saw 3 people. One of them must be the robber, who had dressed up pretending to be a doctor. Can you tell who the criminal is? It's the girl on the left. Look at her shoes. They're dirty. She probably didn't have time to clean or change them. Theo was getting ready for a job interview when the lights in his apartment went off. He was in a rush and didn't have time to wait for the lights to come back on. He was almost ready. He only needed to put on his socks and boots. Theo had socks of 3 different colors: black, white, and gray. He didn't care what color his socks would be, but he needed 2 socks of the same color. How many socks should Theo take to make sure there would be at least 1 matching pair? He just needs 4 socks. Even if the first 3 socks are different colors, the 4th sock will probably be either black, white, or gray, matching one of the others. Devin takes showers every day, but on even days of the month, he takes a long bath. During 1 year's time, how many baths does he take? Well, let's see. Except for February, all months have 30 or 31 days. In each month, there are usually 15 even days. For starters, we should multiply 15 by 11, which gives us 165 days. If we count February as having 14 even days, then the total number of baths Devin takes in a year is 179. This is Allison, and one of these 3 men is her boyfriend. Can you tell who? It's the guy on the left. Look, they have matching tattoos. Bella landed in New York with a very ambitious career goal. But first thing she needed to do after arriving in the city was to find her apartment. There were many options to get from the airport to her apartment, but Bella decided to save money and go by bus. She had to purchase a ticket for $10, but a handsome guy popped out of nowhere and offered her a better deal. He said his plans had changed and he didn't need his bus ticket anymore. He offered to sell it to her for $6. Bella agreed and gave him the money, but it turned out to be a big mistake. Why? Take a look at the current date on the screen of the vending machine. And now check the date on the ticket. The ticket the man sold Bella expired over a month ago. Finally, Bella managed to arrive in Manhattan and find her apartment. She was sharing a house with 3 other women. Bella introduced herself to them and went to settle in her room. She left her belongings on her bed and went to take a shower. When she stepped out of the shower, Bella noticed that her laptop was missing. She got furious and decided to interrogate all of her new roommates. Sarah said she had gone out to get a cup of coffee. She even told Bella to ask the doorman of their building since he had seen her leave. Kelly said that she had taken an afternoon nap with her headphones on. She said she hadn't heard or seen anything strange going on inside the apartment. Shannon said that she had gone to the building's rooftop to take some pictures of the city, since she was a professional photographer. Can you tell who's lying here? It's Shannon. If you notice the sign on the lobby, the building strictly prohibits people from accessing the rooftop. Henry was backpacking through Italy by himself. One evening, around 8 p.m., he got very hungry and decided to look for a cozy restaurant to have some dinner. He walked into a traditional restaurant, only to find a customer and a waiter arguing over something. The customer was saying that he had ordered tomato soup, while the waiter was saying that he had only ordered a hot chocolate. Henry saw something that immediately showed him who was lying. Can you find out too? The customer is lying. Behind him, there's a huge sign that says the restaurant only serves soup from 1 to 4 p.m. Since it was 8 p.m. in the evening, the waiter would have never accepted the customer's order in the first place. These are Julia and Maria. They are both very attractive young women who have no trouble finding boyfriends. Today is Valentine's Day, and they're both going out with their loved ones. One of them is currently dating 3 people, though, so she's probably going to run from date to date. Just by looking at this image, can you tell which one it is? It's Maria, the one on the left. If you look at her workstation, she's got 3 presents lined up, one for each person she's currently seeing. Hey, who am I to judge? Dave, an archaeologist, traveled to Egypt on a very special mission. He spent days excavating ruins hidden under miles of sand, and the only thing he found was a coin marked 10 BCE. When he showed it to his colleagues, they told him the coin was a fake. Why? Well, because the designation BCE didn't appear until the beginning of our era. Take a look at this image. Can you figure out which doctor is fake? It's the guy on the left. He's got headphones wrapped around his neck. Something's not right there. Harry and Terry's girlfriends went away on a business trip for the weekend. During the whole time, the couples were texting and sending each other pictures. On Sunday morning, both girlfriends asked their boyfriends to send a selfie of where they were. Harry sent a selfie smiling inside the kitchen. Terry sent a selfie of himself in the bathroom. One of the girls knew immediately that their boyfriend was cheating. Who was the cheater, and how did the girlfriend know? It was Harry. Look at the lipstick mark on the glass on the top of the kitchen counter. Uh-oh.
This is Greg. He's thinking of a 5-digit number. Its first and last digits are the same. Their summation is an even number. And their multiplication is an odd number which is equal to the 4th digit in Greg's imaginary number. If we subtract 5 from it, we'll get the 2nd digit. And if we divide this 2nd digit into half, we'll get the 3rd digit. What number is Greg thinking of? Ready to find out the answer? 34,293. Greg is a reporter for a travel magazine. Today, he enjoys his day off at a beach party. Suddenly, a famous travel blogger, Sergio, shows up at the dance floor. Greg grabs his phone and takes just one picture of Sergio before his battery runs out of power. The next day, he shows this photo at work and receives a promotion. Can you guess why? Take a look at Sergio's feet. It's a full moon and he's turning into a werewolf. That's why this picture is so exclusive. In the evening, Greg returns from work and goes to the bathroom to brush his teeth. Can you spot what's wrong in this picture? In reality, Greg is holding a tube of toothpaste in his left hand. But in the mirror reflection, he's got nothing in his hand. There is a tree growing in Greg's backyard. It doubles in height each year until it reaches its maximum height within 10 years. How many years did it take for a tree to reach half of its maximum height? Since we know that the height of the tree doubles every year, the correct answer is 9 years. Greg is having a family dinner. Meet his sisters, Bella and Stella. They were born to the same mother on the same day, at the same time, and in the same month and year. But yet, they're not twins. How come? Bella and Stella are two of a set of triplets. The next day, Greg returns to work and makes a report about two travel bloggers, Jake and Mike. They're hiking in the woods separately. Can you guess who has more chances to survive this night by just looking at these pictures? Can you see a cobra hiding in Mike's tent? Mosquito bites are usually not life-threatening, unlike snake venom. Therefore, Jake has more chances to survive. Greg has lost his phone in the office. He's been searching for his missing gadget for several hours. Suddenly, Greg gets an anonymous email saying the following. Can you guess what's written here? It's just written in reverse order. If you read it from right to left, the message turns into, "Your phone is hidden in the lobby of this building. Bring $300 and I will tell you where exactly." Greg goes to the lobby and spots something very odd about this place. Can you see it too? Look at the TV. They show different programs in reality and in the mirror. Greg is meeting his friend Kyle in their favorite restaurant, but unfortunately, they're both broke. So they only order free water and one chicken sandwich to share. Greg and Kyle have a great time together and take some pictures. But an hour later, Kyle gets very sick and faints. Doctors find out that he was poisoned. Let's take a look at the pictures that the guys took at the restaurant. Can you spot where the poison was? Kyle put pepper in his half of the sandwich, and Mike didn't, so the poison was in the pepper pot. Greg decides to take a walk home through a forest, and eventually he gets lost. There are 3 possible routes to the final destination. The first path leads through a village inhabited by vampires. The second path is full of toxic mold that can make any human lose their mind. And the third path leads through an enchanted forest that turns all human beings into trees. Which way should Greg choose? The first option is the safest. It's a sunny day and the vampires are probably sleeping. On the way, Greg meets a goblin. The creature offers him a deal.
If you crack my riddle, I'll let you go, but if not, I'll wake all the vampires up and you'll never leave this forest.
Greg agrees. Here's the riddle.
How can you drop a raw egg from a height onto a concrete floor without cracking it?
Ready to hear the correct answer? Concrete floors are very hard to crack. The next day, Greg is preparing an article about a safari park. He has these 2 options to illustrate his work. Can you spot 5 differences between them? Here they are. And now Greg's task is to find a model for their advertising campaign. He looks through pictures of these 4 models. Which lady is different from the others? This one, because she has shorter hair. Greg goes to the local food court and purchases some chicken nuggets for lunch. He puts his lunchbox on a table and leaves for a minute to wash his hands and get a fork. Then, Greg comes back and finds out that his lunch is missing. Greg interrogates 3 people nearby. Megan says,
I didn't even look at your food. It wouldn't fit me anyway. I'm on a vegan diet.
I was taking pictures of my croissant for social media. You can see it for yourself if you don't believe me. And Peter says,
Sir, I don't steal food. It's against my principles.
After hearing what they had to say, Greg knows for sure who's the thief. What about you? Megan said that Greg's food wasn't vegan, but how does she know that if she hasn't even looked at it? Busted! Greg wants to bring a sweet treat to his coworkers. He has 2 jars of chocolates labeled as V and C. If he moves one chocolate from the V jar to the C, the number of chocolates in the V jar will become twice the number of chocolates in the C jar. But if he moves one chocolate from jar C to V, the number of chocolates in both the jars will become equal. Can you figure out the number of chocolates in each jar respectively? The V jar has 5 chocolates, and jar C has 7. Greg returns to the office and discovers that someone broke his chair. He interrogates 3 coworkers. Will says, I was at a business meeting for the last 3 hours. I've just returned to my workplace and I didn't notice your chair. Fiona says, I took Peter's chair today because someone took mine, but I didn't approach your desk. And Peter says,
I spent the whole day at my workplace, but I didn't look around because I had very important work to do.
Who's lying? Peter is sitting on a chair with an inscription of his name. Therefore, Fiona's story is fake. Greg goes to an opening of a new fancy hotel. In the buffet area, he meets these 3 people. Each claims to be a billionaire, but 2 of them are lying. Can you spot the real billionaire? The First Lady sneaked a gold fork from the table and hid it in her hair. If she's really rich, she doesn't need to steal cutlery. And the second guy is wearing shoes that are too small for him, so he probably borrowed them from someone else's feet. Therefore, only the third lady is a billionaire. Greg is planning to spend a night in the hotel. Only 3 rooms are available at the moment. A room on the 15th floor with a mind-blowing view, a fancy penthouse with a huge jacuzzi, and a standard double room on the 4th floor. Can you help Greg choose the best option? The first option doesn't exist because the hotel is only 10 stories. And there are cracks inside this jacuzzi. It's not safe to take a bath in this room. So Greg should pick the 3rd room.
Ken went rollerblading on Sunset Avenue when he tripped over a rock. He fell down and hurt his head. It started bleeding, so the ambulance took him to the nearest doctor. As soon as Ken was allowed to have visitors, 3 ladies came inside his room saying they were Barbie. They looked pretty, so Ken got really confused. Take a look at the 3 women that say they are Barbie and see if you can figure out which one is telling the truth. It's the woman on the right. Since Barbie is a doll, she can't change her expression. If you look attentively, you'll see that the first woman is blinking, and the second woman has a wink on her face. This leaves us with the last woman, which is the one and only Barbie. After getting out of the hospital, Barbie suggested that they go get ice cream. Ken said yes, so they went to their favorite place. Barbie ordered a blue ice cream, and Ken got a green one. When they were about to eat their desserts, a stranger came next to them and said one of the ice creams was poisoned. Take a look at the image. Can you tell which ice cream isn't safe to eat? It's Ken's ice cream. Sure, it was originally green, but there's a strange smoke coming out of it. It's probably a reaction to the poison. Yikes! Sure looks like someone's after him, huh? One lovely morning, Barbie was driving to work when her sight suddenly went black. She woke up in an empty warehouse. There was nothing but 4 doors in front of her. She heard very loud noises, like there was a monster approaching. She felt like she needed to escape quickly, otherwise she would turn into the monster's dinner. The 4 doors had signs on them. The leftmost door had a sign saying, "Take the door on the right to break free." The sign on the second door said, "It's the right door." On the third door, it was written, "Freedom is just right in front of you." And the last door had a sign saying, "Don't trust the signs." Can you help Barbie? Which door should she choose? Well, there's a bit of wordplay here. Let's see why. Well, the first door says to take the door on the right. The second one says it's the right door. It doesn't say if it's the correct door, but the right door, as in the door on the right. The third door says freedom is just right in front of you. That just doesn't make any sense, does it? You can interpret that it's pointing to the door just on Barbie's right, and that is it. She should choose the last door. It says not to trust the other signs, but it doesn't say that they are false, does it? Marjorie is the owner of an organic farm. One morning she walked inside the barn and found all of last week's production of apple juice shattered on the floor. She was devastated. This was going to cost her a fortune. She asked her employees to clean it up. Meanwhile, she took the time to interrogate them. Sean, the farm's volunteer, said that he had put all of the apple juice bottles on the shelf before heading home. He said everything seemed fine until then. Becca said she had gone home earlier than usual because she wasn't feeling well. She said she hadn't even gone inside the barn all day. Tom said he had spent the day painting the fence and also hadn't visited the barn. Can you tell who is lying? Tom is the one lying. Take a look at the fence behind them. It's definitely not painted. Linda was staying at a famous hotel where a lot of celebrities live. The glamorous building had 7 floors. 5 A-list celebrities were living on the ground floor, and 8 Hollywood stars were living on the first floor. On the second floor, there were 11 not-so-famous people. Each floor above those had 3 more celebrities living on it than the previous one. All of these people leave for work every day. Can you guess which floor calls the elevator the most? This is a tricky one. It's on the ground floor. Any person staying on a floor other than the ground floor would have to call the elevator to reach their respective floors. Brendan works in the same company as Mary. He's had a crush on her for months and has been trying to impress her in any way he can think of. That's why he decided to take part in the Brain Challenge, a contest his company organizes once a year. By saying yes, he had to answer a bunch of expert-level questions and solve some pretty difficult riddles. For the first round, he had to crack a rebus puzzle. Take a look at the piece of paper they gave him. Can you guess what the answer is? The answer was broken promises. Ooh, nice. For the next round, they took Brendan to a room full of random stuff. His task was to find a specific object. As a clue, they gave him a piece of paper that said, "What goes up when the rain goes down?" Look around and help Brendan find the object. It was that red and white umbrella over there. That makes sense, huh? Then Brendan was taken into an empty room. The room's door was sealed with a letter combination lock. He looked around and found a slip of paper with the following written on it: P plus 3, N 1, B 1, N plus 4, S plus 1. Can you help him figure out the code word? It took Brendan a while to figure it out, but he was able to crack it. The code word was SMART. The key to this riddle was hidden in the alphabet. Let's see how it works. P plus its 3 following letters is S. N, 1 letter is M, and so on. For the final round, Brendan had to solve an AI riddle. If he answered it correctly, he would win the contest's main prize and probably Amy's heart. The riddle said, "I speak without a mouth and hear without ears. I have no body, but I come alive with the wind. What am I?" Can you guess what Brendan answered? The correct answer is echo. Dave, a chief police officer, received a call late one night. Mrs. Brown, a famous chemist from UKC, went missing from her lab. Dave spent a few hours searching her lab and found a note with random numbers. It didn't look like a study she had been doing, so Dave guessed it must be a clue about where she was. The note read 26, 3, 58, 28, 27, 57, 16. Based on the note, Dave managed to find where Mrs. Brown was. He found the culprits, arrested them all, and freed the scientist. Can you guess what was written on the encrypted note and how he understood it? Here's how he figured it out. Each number on the note corresponded to an element in the periodic table. So the element that corresponded to the number 26 is Fe, iron. The number 3 is Li, lithium. And 58 is Ce, cerium. Using this logic, the first line spelled out Felice. By the same logic, the second line spelled out Nicholas. After discovering the names, Dave must have tracked the two people down, arrested them, and discovered where they had taken Mrs. Brown. In a small town, 3 teachers went on leave all on the same day. Janet said she had gotten into a car accident and had broken her leg, so she was having difficulty walking with her new cast. Emma complained that she had a very unfortunate workout and had injured her neck, so she was having trouble looking sideways. And Tina said she had fallen from her bike and had hurt her arm. One of the teachers was lying. Can you tell who? It was Janet. She claimed she was having difficulty walking with her cast, but she didn't even have crutches. She must be the one lying. The town's modern art museum has just been robbed. A priceless painting from top-notch artist Floyd B. has gone missing overnight. The museum's manager called Detective Pressfield to help. As soon as he arrived at the museum, he asked to see the security footage of the previous night. He identified 3 suspicious individuals staring at the painting for longer than usual. The first person, wearing a blue jacket, entered through the museum's front entrance. The security camera caught her staring at the painting from several angles, like she was measuring it. The second person, wearing a red hat, left the museum through the side exit, which is pretty suspicious. And the last person, who was wearing a black face mask, spent a long time looking at the museum's ceiling, trying to identify where the security cameras were located. Take a look at the footage. Can you guess who's the most likely thief? It's the last person. I mean, he was wearing a mask and spent hours trying to identify the security cameras. After that, there was no footage anymore. So that probably means he was successful at leaving the museum with the priceless painting. Samantha and Joanna were stuck at Blue Ridge's airport security line. A security guard found both of them suspicious and asked them to wait while he analyzed the X-ray footage. Take a look at both women. Who do you think is really hiding something? Well, Samantha has a suspicious face, but she probably just wants to go to the bathroom or something. Now, Joanna is definitely hiding something under her skirt. If she had really been pregnant, she would have used the preferential line. And look how much she's sweating. She's probably nervous she'll get caught. Detective Sharon's office was called to investigate a series of mysterious break-ins happening in a fancy neighborhood. At each crime scene, the robber would leave the word "closer" sprayed in graffiti on a nearby wall. The first place to be robbed was Mrs. Moore's cafe. Then the criminal's next target was the town's library. After a week, the thief had left his mark in a fancy office building, a supermarket, and a restaurant. It took Detective Sharon a while, but she soon understood there was a pattern to the break-ins, and she was even able to predict what the next break-in would be. Can you figure out what it was? The thief was pretty clever for sure. The first letter of each of the locations the thief entered spelled out the word "closer." Since the last location to be robbed was a restaurant, the next place would start with C, restarting the cycle. Most likely, the neighborhood's community center. In the East Valley, there's a beautiful old kingdom known as Piatra. One of the town's most precious symbols is a valuable jewel that is always displayed during the city's festivities. This year, during the last celebration, something tragic happened. The town's jewel went missing. The king was devastated and mad that such an ancient artifact had been stolen. He soon called the kingdom's official investigator to help figure out who had possibly stolen the jewel. The culprit would have to be proclaimed responsible for their theft in front of the entire kingdom. There were many people at the festivity, but the investigator narrowed the suspects down to 4 people. Amelia said she saw something strange after the bard's presentation. She saw that Benjamin had picked up the jewel and handed it to Carol. But Ben said he didn't go anywhere near the jewel because he had been working on one of the stalls during the fair. Carol said she did go near the jewel, but she had only admired it from up close. And Daniel said that he could swear seeing Carol carrying the jewel, but he didn't see her take it. Based on the testimonies, the investigator had no trouble figuring out who the culprit was. Can you figure it out as well? It was Carol. Almost everyone thought she was involved in the crime. And plus, if you zoom in on her bag, you'll see something pointing. Sure looks like a jewel, doesn't it? The town's only DVD rental shop suffered a robbery last night. The store's owner called the police station to report the crime. The detective almost couldn't believe what he was hearing. After all, why would someone steal a DVD when there are so many streaming channels nowadays? The detective asked to see the footage from the security camera and identified 3 main suspects. Sarah was a middle-aged woman. She said she still owned a DVD player and preferred to watch movies the old way, so she regularly rented from the store. Alex was a recently retired movie director, and one of his favorite pastimes was going to the store. He said he hadn't noticed anything strange the day before, except for a random teenager that walked inside. David was in his teens, and he spent hours in the shop by himself. He said he was doing research for school, but swears he didn't take anything. Can you tell who did it? It was David. The security footage caught him in the R-rated section of the store. He must have stolen the DVD, thinking the store owner wouldn't sell it to him. There's an old museum that only displays ancient Egyptian artifacts. One day, Susan, an anthropology student, went to the museum in order to study some of the art on display. She went into a room full of things, such as necklaces, bracelets, and earrings. She photographed every detail she thought was important for her research, when something caught her eye. Take a look at the image. Can you figure out what it was? Look at those earrings. They look completely fake. Plus, they have a tiny price tag attached to them. The original earrings were definitely missing. Susan reported the crime to the museum's manager. The manager immediately informed the museum security and opened an investigation. Susan was on the initial suspect list, but after checking the museum's security footage, she was let go. Museum security identified 3 main suspects: one of the museum's guards, one of the students from the museum's archaeology school, and a visitor. The visitor said he had only popped in for a quick visit. He said he had seen the earrings, but they looked pretty original to him. The security guard said he hadn't seen anything strange going the last few days. Everything was as it should be. And the students said they had studied the earring in a class, but they never got the chance to see it before it was stolen. Soon enough, museum security found the culprit. Can you tell who it was? It was the visitor. When security went to investigate the suspects, they never mentioned that the original earring had been exchanged by fake ones. The fact that he knew there was an original version means that he was the one that swapped them. Yikes. Maya was working on her latest artwork, which was commissioned by a high-end gallery in town. Suddenly, all the lights in her studio went out, and since it was nighttime, she was left completely in the dark. She heard footsteps approaching the studio door, and the next thing she knew, she was feeling dizzy. Maya passed out and woke up in a tiny room that had nothing other than a metallic door. She tried to open the door, but it was locked. That's when she noticed that beside the door, there was a little device where a red sign appeared asking for a password. Below the device, there was a piece of paper with the following hint: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It took a while for her to understand what this meant. She read the note aloud several times before she finally figured out what the password was. Can you guess what password she typed into the device? Here's how it works. Maya had to type 1 time the number 2, 3 times the number 4, 5 times the number 6, and 7 times the number 8. Reading it aloud was the key to solve this problem. Whew. Okay, get ready for the ultimate attention test. Every smallest detail might turn out to be crucial. Let's find out how sharp your eyes really are. Look at these glasses. They're filled with water, and each of them has some object inside. Can you tell me which glass has the largest amount of water? If we compare the weight of these objects, we'll find out that the paperclip is the lightest. That's why the glass holding it has the largest amount of water. Among all these cute babies, try to find a sleeping one. Right, here it is. Wow, that was tricky. Bunnies, bunnies, bunnies. But I know for sure there must be an egg hiding among these cute creatures. Exactly. It's not another ear, it's indeed an egg. Look at these unusual equations. Can you figure out the values of the bee, wasp, and rabbit? The wasp is worth 10, the bee is 12, and the rabbit is worth 6. Now, to crack this riddle, you need to use all your attention skills. Mike was going to take his corgi to the vet, but the pooch has run away and hidden in the garden. Can you find it? Wow, that was a tricky task. Here it is, poor scared pup. A lot is happening in this picture, but you just need to spot one thing, a banana. A little hint, it might be hiding in a very unexpected place. This girl is wearing it as a hairband. Did you manage to spot it? Peter needs to take his dog for a walk, but it's raining outside and the pooch doesn't seem eager to leave this cozy living room. Can you help the guy find his pup? Here it is, near the sofa. It looks like a regular living room, but happiness is hiding here. How fast can you spot it? Here it is. Bingo! Liz followed her mom's order and went to bed without objections, but her mom suspects that her daughter hasn't brushed her teeth. If you manage to find a toothbrush in the girl's bedroom, her mother's suspicions are correct. The toothbrush is hidden on that shelf. Uh-oh, someone is going to be in trouble tomorrow. Despite cold winter weather, Mark set off on a photo trip. His main goal was to capture a bear on film. Unfortunately, Mark isn't very attentive. A bear is watching him, but he doesn't notice the animal. Let's see if you'll be able to help the guy and find a bear in this image. Right, here it is. What a curious creature. Look at this image. How many triangles can you see? There are 44 triangles here. Have you got it right? What seems to be odd in this picture? It's definitely the McDonald's sign, but isn't it too early for it? How good are you at math? We'll see in a moment. If A plus A equals B, B plus B equals D, A plus D equals E, then how much is B plus D plus E? It's the letter K, which equals 11. All these letters represent their positions in the alphabet: A1, B2, C3, D4, and E5. 2 plus 4 plus 5 equal 11, and that's the letter K. Now, look attentively. Can you find a car in this black and white image? Here it is, hiding in the corner. Now, this one is probably the trickiest riddle out there. I've spent ages trying to figure out the answer. Can you find a ring in this image? Here it is, placed on top of a carrot. Whew, Can you find the answer to this equation? The answer is 3. See for yourself. A cat equals 4, a mouse is 3, and cheese is worth 2. Then, 4 minus 3 plus 2 is 3. Take a look at these creatures. They all seem to be zombies. But in reality, just one of them is the real monster. Can you figure out which one? It's the girl on the right. She has an eye floating in her drink. Can you spot a werewolf among these men? Be very attentive to every detail. I hope you've noticed that large, beautiful full moon shining through the window. Then you must have deduced that none of these men is a werewolf. Otherwise, he would have already transformed. Your friend has invited you for a walk in the park. She offered you 3 places to choose from. Which one should you pick? A wolf is hiding in the bushes in the first park. In park number 3, there is a snake in the grass. Only the second park is safe for a nice long walk. Can you find 5 hearts in this image? Here they all are. How many of them have you managed to spot? There are 4 mistakes in this image. Can you find them all? One, the dolphin seems to be missing its flippers. 2, this thing on the girl's back doesn't look like an oxygen tank. 3, a butterfly at the bottom of the sea. 4, someone has written SOS on the sandy bottom. I guess it's pretty much useless. No one is going to see this cry for help anyway. Larry's mother asked the guy to do some grocery shopping. She gave him a shopping list and her bank card. But the woman knew her son was very absent-minded. That's why she gave Larry a small note in case he forgot the card's PIN number. When the guy was at the register, he realized he had indeed forgotten the PIN. Larry pulled the note out of his pocket and immediately remembered the PIN. Can you figure out what it was if the note had a fly, a cat, a person, and a snake drawn on it? The PIN was 6420. Larry just had to count the number of legs on each creature. Thomas loved asking his friends to solve all kinds of funny riddles. If they answered correctly, he helped them with whatever they had problems with. One day, Daniel came to Thomas and asked for help with his math exam. He knew the rules, though. He had to solve one riddle first. What kind of running leads to walking? Thomas asked. Do you know the correct answer? Daniel said, running out of gas, and he was right. But helping your friend with exam preparation is a difficult task. That's why Thomas asked Daniel to solve one more riddle. A woman drove from Seattle to Los Angeles. It took her 2 days to get to her destination. That's when she discovered one of her tires was punctured. Then how did she manage to get to Los Angeles? Daniel cracked this riddle. Can you do the same? The punctured tire was the spare one. Ooh, that was lucky. Detective Oliver Smith was leaving for work in the morning when he saw a man running out of his neighbor's house. He stopped the guy who said his name was Paul. He came to visit his colleague about 30 minutes ago and saw him fighting with a man. The door was locked and Paul couldn't get inside to help. While he was trying to find the way to enter the house, the criminal left. Paul entered and saw his colleague lying on the kitchen floor, unconscious. Oliver and Paul came into the house. Nothing seemed to be out of the ordinary, but after looking around the kitchen, the detective arrested the man. Why? Paul was the one to attack Oliver's neighbor. If his words were true, fried eggs would have already been burned after 30 minutes of cooking. Detective Parkson was working on a tricky case. One day, he vanished. His colleagues found an encrypted note on his desk. It looked like this. The officers knew Parkson had 3 suspects: Milana, Susan, and Emily, who had some information about the detective's disappearance. After some time, one of the police officers cracked the code. D plus 1 equals E, L plus 1 equals M, and so on. It was Emily who knew where the detective was. Well, aren't you the smarty pants?